The lunch crowd had just begun to settle in when an elderly black woman, dressed in a simple floral dress and holding a worn handbag, quietly walked into the restaurant. She moved slowly, her cane tapping against the floor as she looked around for a place to sit. Instead of being greeted with kindness, the manager quickly approached her with a frown. Without asking what she wanted, he accused her of loitering and told her she didn't belong there. The old woman, with tired eyes but steady dignity, explained she only wanted a cup of tea. But the manager, ignoring her words, ordered her to leave and even called over a waiter to escort her out. Patrons sitting nearby shifted uncomfortably, some whispering in disbelief. A young couple stood up to intervene, asking the manager to let the woman stay. But he stubbornly refused, saying, "We don't serve people like her here." That's when a tall man in a crisp suit, who had been quietly eating in the corner, rose to his feet. With calm authority, he revealed his identity. He was the CEO of the very restaurant chain, visiting unannounced. The room went silent. The CEO walked over to the elderly woman, pulled out her chair himself, and invited her to sit. He then turned to the stunned manager and said, "You are finished here. We serve every human being with dignity." Gasps filled the room as the manager's face turned pale. The CEO ordered the staff to bring the woman the finest meal on the house, and then he sat with her, asking about her life and listening to her story. By the end of the meal, nearly everyone in the restaurant stood to applaud the woman, not out of pity, but out of respect for her grace and strength. The manager was escorted out, and the restaurant became a symbol of change, a place where every customer, regardless of color, age, or status, was treated like family. The restaurant was buzzing with whispers. Some customers pulled out their phones, recording the scene, while others sat frozen, unsure of what they had just witnessed. The old woman, still seated now with the help of the CEO, trembled slightly. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. "Ma'am," the CEO said gently, pulling a chair for himself, "I apologize deeply for what you just went through. This should never have happened under my name, under this company." The old lady looked up, her voice raspy but steady. "Son, I've seen worse in my time, but I didn't expect it here, in a place where I only wanted a little tea." Tears welled in the eyes of a waitress who had stood silently by. She stepped forward and placed a hand over her heart. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should have said something sooner." The manager, red-faced and angry, tried to defend himself. "I was only protecting the restaurant. People like her." "Enough!" The CEO's voice cut like thunder. The entire restaurant went quiet. "People like her built this country. People like her deserve more respect than you could ever imagine. And if you can't see that, then you have no place representing my company." Security entered at that moment, and with a silent gesture from the CEO, they escorted the disgraced manager out of the building. A few customers actually clapped, while others looked on with shame for not speaking sooner. The CEO then turned back to the woman. "Today you will not pay for a single thing. Not just this meal, but for the rest of your life. You will always be welcome in any restaurant with my name on it." The old woman, shocked, pressed her hand to her chest. "Child, I don't need all that. I only needed kindness." The CEO smiled softly. "Then let this meal be a start." Plates of the finest food began arriving at her table: warm bread, roasted chicken, fresh vegetables, and of course, the hot tea she had asked for in the first place. Customers began approaching her, one by one, offering apologies, shaking her hand, and even sharing their own stories of injustice. By the time she finished her tea, the restaurant had been transformed. No longer just a place to eat, but a stage where compassion, justice, and dignity had stood tall. As she slowly rose to leave, the CEO walked her to the door. Reporters, tipped off by someone's live video, had already gathered outside. Flashes from cameras lit up the street, but the old woman raised her chin high, her dignity unshaken. "Remember," she told the crowd softly, her voice carrying like a song, "the measure of a place isn't in its food or its walls. It's in how it treats the least of us." And with that, she stepped into the sunlight, leaving behind a restaurant, and a world forever changed.